you guys doing? Welcome to... Oh,
you're over there.
Hey, let's get the microphone over here by me.
I bet they
Hi. Welcome to the Occupy Democrat Show. My name's Mark Bland.
And I'm Jason Cole.
And we're coming from the great city of St. Louis, Missouri, as we always do. And thank you so much for being with us today. A lot going on in the world. But, Jason, we have a special interview coming up.
Yeah, we do. I'm looking forward to this.
At basically 5 o'clock Central Standard Time, 6 o'clock Eastern, we are going to have Ro Khanna, the congressman from California, on.
Don't change
to talk with us about everything that's going on in the world of politics and specifically around this presidential administration, sir. Because I'm sure, as we've seen from different clips, Jason, Ro's got some things to say.
Yeah, he has to.
But more importantly than anything else, I think having a man as close to the Iran-Israeli war as he is with the situation and the subcommittees that he sits on and stuff, I don't think we could have asked for a better person to talk to about some of the things that are going on in the world right now and how we view it.
He's literally, as they say, in the room where it happened. He's that kind of guy.
And he's a liberal, too. Right? He's a Democrat. He's going to be the Democrat that's out there, right? Like, so I try to get Jasmine Crockett, right? We're working on Jasmine Crockett. We're working on Hakeem Jeffries, right? We're working on different people, David Hogg, all kinds of people, right?
Efforting, as I say.
But we don't get to talk to these people as often. Today, Mark and Jason, we're definitely going to be talking to Ro Khanna. We're definitely going to be talking to him here in just a little bit. But before we get to that, President Donald Trump threatened Brazil, Jason, that's right, with a 50% tariff on its goods starting August 1st, 2025, unless it halts the trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro. That's right, Bolsonaro, whom Trump claims is facing a politically motivated witch hunt for allegedly attempting a coup against President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Of course, Lula da Silva, we do remember talking about him. Trump's letter posted on Truth Social. We're going to get to that in a second. Mirrors similar tariff threats sent to 21 other countries, including the Philippines, Iraq, and rates are up to 30%. Lula vowed to retaliate with reciprocal tariffs, emphasizing Brazil's sovereignty. Unlike most targeted nations, Brazil has a trade surplus with the United States, Jason, exporting less than it imports, which could harm U.S. industries like aerospace if Brazil imposes counter tariffs. Duh.
He's always looking out for criminals.
We're going to get there. Trump also announced a 50% tariff on copper imports, citing national security causing copper prices to surge. Critics argue that this could raise costs for U.S. consumers and manufacturers without quickly boosting domestic copper production. Duh. All right, get me back to this camera over here. Jason, once again, our friend Donald Trump
doing it.
Went to his pathetic social media platform.
Yeah.
I want you to all understand Truth Social was a Parler wannabe that he tried to start. And do you know what Parler was? It was a Twitter wannabe. After he got mad that Twitter was like, yo, you can't act like that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, when other social media sites stop people from spreading misinformation, Parler was like, hey, come on over.
Yeah, Parler was like, yeah, we'll do it. Like, we're good. Hey, when YouTube was like, we don't want misinformation on it, they were like, Kick and Rumble. We're like, come on over.
Let's go.
We'll do it. Anything where Joe Rogan's podcast could be found 5 years ago, that's literally everywhere.
Tons of Super Beats commercials.
You want to know where you could find me and Jason 5 years ago? Fox News.
Good.
That's the difference in quality of who you're talking with and dealing with. People that really do this. Now, your pathetic social media is not where you should be, one, releasing information to the mass public. You're better off on your Twitter account. You have physically more followers on your Twitter account than you of even people that don't like you than you do on your Truth Social account. So you would be talking to physically more Americans by just putting a tweet out on your regular Twitter account, or X as you like to call it. But you're in the middle of your beef with Elon, so you can't do that right now.
Well, he's got that financial ties to Truth Social. He can't be posting anywhere else.
That's right. Next, you put a 50% tariff on copper imports. We'll get to Brazil and De Lula and all that in a second. All right, or De Silva. I'm sorry, Lula De Silva. Give me a second. We'll get there. 50% tariff on copper.
Huh? Maybe they should stop stealing it from our streetlights.
Jason, that's just going to raise the price of copper a lot for Americans.
And anything made with that.
Think about it, guys. Trump announced a 50% tariff on copper imports. What we bring in. Okay. So it's going to cost us. Well, so you give me a 50% tariff, fine, and I'm from Guam, or not Guam. If you give me another country, Cote d'Ivoire, right? You're from Cote d'Ivoire.
That was like, boo.
Right, yeah. We went from there to Madagascar. I'm Madagascar, like the animals, like the zebra with Chris Rock, right? Madagascar. I'm the one giving you copper. I'm sending copper to you. Your country is importing it. You tell me it's going to cost me 50% more. Do you know what I do? I raise the price 50%. You call it a tariff over here all you want. I just physically raise the price 50% across the board. Everything I send to you. And now your tariff is wiped out. It just costs Americans and you, because you're an American and importing it, 50% more than it did just 1 month earlier. Do you get it?
I wonder where he came up with the August 1st date.
I don't know.
That just came out of nowhere.
All of it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, he mentioned it like 50 times.
Maybe that's
what
he thinks 2 weeks is. That's 2 weeks.
Or maybe that's the date that they told him all this tariff stuff's about to hit the wall.
Well, the reason I brought this up, Jason, is the last part that we do need to discuss. So we're doing 50% copper imports on tariffs, making that stuff cost a lot more, which means houses are going to go up in price. Things that use copper are going to go up in price.
Yeah.
Air conditioning for your hot parts of your country, right? Not everybody. Remember, Canada's that horrible place. No one wants to live. Everyone wants to be in super hot, copper needed for air conditioning units, Florida. So now Florida is just going to cost way more, even at Mar-a-Lago. Not everybody's rich and owns a Mar-a-Lago. A lot of Florida people live in just regular houses.
You know, this stuff's all going to really start to come to a head because what people don't realize is there's only so many Walmart corporations, Target, who can absorb some of this and pass on some. They're going to run out of time. Like, have you been to Sam's recently?
Sure.
Sam's has the locked-in pricing everywhere.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
ends at a certain point. I forget the date. That's not forever. It's only for a certain amount of time that they said, we can keep this price at this price for you. And if you go to Sam's Club, they're all over. They're blue. And it says locked-in price, locked-in price. That's going to end soon. All that stuff that's locked-in price,
that's all.
that's going up.
That's all marketing, too.
Yeah, they're
that
trying
locked-in price, that blue thing up there, they could have done that any week of the year, every they could have just been like, oh, we locked in this price.
Yeah.
It used to be this, and we're just telling you this is what the price was. You could independently research, take time, spend an hour or two, do some real deep digging and find out the prices and the information that you're looking for. But you're not. You're a normal American. You're busy. You got things going on. You're going to hit Subway and grab some lunch, and then you're going to run over there and grab some contact cleaner or lens cleaner from the Walmart. Like, You've got things on your plate. Like, you're not doing all this research stuff. But once again, Jason, we're right back to Donald Trump imposing tariffs. They do something every time he imposes them, Jason. What do they seem to do?
He knocks that stock market down.
What stock market? The stock market our country loves to run off of?
Yeah, which everyone's retirement takes a part in.
Wait. When you say the stock market,
yeah.
Now, I might be stupid, Jay. I might be going one step too far on this.
There's
but
evidence to the contrary.
The same, well, maybe. The same stock market that uses the Dow Jones to dictate how high it is and how amazing of a president you could be, the bestliest of all time. No one's ever had the Dow Jones higher than Barack Obama didn't. No. He was president last week, and now I have it this much higher. And
it only took him 5 months to make it, too.
He took Barack Obama's amazing 8 years of just... and he ran with it for a couple more until he ran it into the ground. He could even had it during COVID still going like this. Nope, ran that into the ground. Then he got back into office after all of you guys were lied to about your stupid Epstein list. Your dumb Epstein list that never showed up. The one that doesn't have Barack Obama's name or Bill Clinton's name or Joe Biden's name on it. It doesn't. It doesn't have anyone's name on it because it doesn't exist. Yeah. It's not on anyone's desk.
Apparently, it's the one that was. It's like, where'd it go? It was just here.
It was just here.
It was just on my desk. I was going to review it.
Oh my goodness! Listen. They just handed me a booklet. A booklet. Me and about 70 podcasters in Tim Pool, a booklet that says, here it is. Here's the beginnings of it.
Yeah, I remember they were out in front.
Yeah,
they were posing with their binders. They were showing everyone.
Yeah. That's another thing. Remember, marketing. We talked about Blue, locked-in price, and this. Marketing, guys, will all go out in front. No one wants a press conference with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, like Benny Johnson from our last show when I discussed they don't get offered opportunities with Fox News to be on the air there or to be on those other networks and stuff like that. No, they don't. Their claim is always, I make too much money to do that.
Well, they're employed by Russia, so. And there's facts for that. There's evidence for that. So
kind of self-admitted almost, I think, by Tim Pool.
Yeah. Tax surprise.
Kind of. It's weird.
I was wondering who was paying me.
That money just kept coming in my bank account. I don't know. I kept spending it.
I was wondering who was giving me $200,000 a month. That's so weird. It was.
But Jason, not to get off topic because we got Ro coming up here soon. What does this have to do with the USA? I'm serious.
Yeah, why do we care if they prosecute someone that committed crimes?
Nobody cares about Bolsonaro in the United States. No one. Literally no one. Not even people that lived in Brazil, grew up in Brazil, like Brazil. No one cares. Yeah, sure, he's like you, Trump. Sure, yeah, he says things like you, Trump. He also does crimes like you, Trump. He gets caught for them like you, Trump. The difference is that I don't have Joe Biden stumbling around. Yep, I said it. Joe Biden stumbling around for the last year and a half of his presidency. When I told you right after you were ready to fist fight him on Twitter back in 2020, you needed to get into office and immediately suspend the powers of the president. It needs to be more like the Queen of England, a figurehead position only. No powers, no abilities, no immunity from the Supreme Court of the United States. No. I know what you all wanted to believe with your fake musket sitting on the bed next to you in 1996. But it's not that way. There's no Epstein list. There's no bad people that are coming down off the Epstein list. Your boy Trump got away with it. He's now kicked your copper prices up 50% more. Yeah. Now he's trying to help dudes like Jair Bolsonaro get off of like crimes in other countries.
It's almost like they have a crime club. It's like first rule of crime club is you don't speak about crime club. Second rule.
I got something for you.
Because he also Eric Adams, same thing.
You're right. No, you're right. Hey, Metro, real quick. Do you care that Jair Bolsonaro is being convicted of stupid crimes for trying to attempt a coup in his own country in Brazil? He said he doesn't even know who it is.
That's how much he doesn't care. He doesn't even know who that guy is. It doesn't. But here's the thing.
But no,
why would he?
But no. Listen, Matt is a much younger person compared to me and Jason. He is not the guy who stands over here and sits on the camera, so he works on politics and discusses these things with us. That's not his job. But from that younger age group?
Yeah, they don't care about other world leaders.
Hey, let me ask this other question. But Metro, do you vote? Metro said yes, he does vote. So he doesn't know who Bolsonaro is. He definitely knows who Trump is. And he definitely knows what he doesn't like about his country. Jason.
Yes.
Do you know who your Bolsonaro is?
I only do because of the election when he tried to overthrow.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And do you care that he is being convicted of a crime in Brazil right now?
I like it when criminals are held accountable, but I don't really care.
Right. So you're not going to get off of work this week early to go make sure you check on the Bolsonaro trials or anything?
Try to find some Brazilian crime app I can watch the trial on.
No, he's not. See, and neither am I. And all three of us that I just brought up in this room, in this studio, we all vote. We're all American voters.
And you know what they'd have to ask themselves? How does Donald Trump know what the evidence against him is? How does Donald Trump not know that Bolsonaro committed serious offenses? He doesn't know that. He just reacts because, oh, it's another leader who's trying to be convicted of stuff I kind of did, and I don't like that. It's revenge for criminals. That's what's going on here. He doesn't know what that guy did, but he doesn't want him prosecuted. And if they do, he's going to hurt them financially. It's crazy.
My next comment before we move on to our next story is simply this. Hasn't Trump learned anything from Elon that his threats don't work? Listen, the Epstein list situation was only compiled and made worse by the fact that he put out a tweet that said, Donald Trump's on the Epstein list.
And now it's gone.
And now it's gone all of a sudden because of that one tweet and screen caps everyone has. The internet never forgets. Forever, Donald Trump is the alleged child trafficker who worked with Jeffrey Epstein to protect pedophiles.
Yeah, he also said Steve Bannon's on it as well.
Alleged.
Yeah, allegedly. That's what he said that. I'm not saying that.
No, we got to say, we're saying alleged. Like, he hasn't been accused of, or he's been accused, but he hasn't been convicted of anything. But my point being, regardless, Elon already proved to you that your threats don't work. There are other people out there with more money, power, and connections than you have, Trump, and you don't look so super American anymore. You don't look all awesome and crazy gray. Now, I get it. Elon's not running to do anything because he's trying to protect his subsidies and things behind the scenes. But at the same point, no one is scared of your threats. Your threats are idle and stupid. They're trying to help Bolsonaro get out of jail in Brazil. We care about America. You're the president of America. America, all of you. America. That's who he's supposed to be the president of. Now, Jason, while all this is going on, which is great. Hey, Metro, can you bring up that ICE video for me real quick? Listen. Don't you have him under control yet?
Hey, man, don't.
You know what they remind me of, ICE, right now? They remind me of the CIA in the 50s and 60s. Just an out-of-control government agency, just with no reins on them, like zero control.
Now, that was in Van Nuys, California. I don't have a lot of information on that. It happened at a Home Depot. But I don't need a lot of information. And the reason I don't need a lot of information, I don't need his name. I don't need what country he's from. I don't need this, that, and the other. I don't need anything. Roth, I don't need any of it. That's ridiculous. That meant, Jason. Hey, Jason.
Yes.
Did it sound like that man on that video was having a lot of trouble saying the words, I'm an American?
No, it came out pretty clearly.
Pretty clear. It sounded like English, right?
He definitely sounded under distress, but that was pretty clear. That was not broken English. That was,
yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. If you're born here, if you're of Latin descent, you're going to speak clear English. You might look like everyone from Mexico because you're of Mexican descent, but that wasn't broken English. That was definitely his first language.
All right, guys, we are just arresting people that are Americans now.
Based on how they look.
Based on how they look. We don't care. And I'm going to go one step further. See, don't even need a 50, I don't even need 50 ICE videos to make comments like I'm getting ready to make. Based off that alone, knowing where they went to go pick that guy up, how more Al Bundy of a cliche can you get than let's hit the Home Depot parking lot? How more racist of a cliche can you be than, hey, I got to figure out where illegals are at. Hit the Home Depot parking lot. Stereotypes we don't talk about much in America. Stereotypes that exist in general. Yeah. There was a guy. His name was the Amazing Racist. He's a comedian that is well known. I literally seen his specials come out on Netflix in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably 15 solid years ago, maybe even longer ago than that. He originally put out a video. Now, remember, he's a comedian. The name of his character is The Amazing Racist. His number one plan in The Amazing Racist, by the way, we're going back to 08, 09. We're not 2025. We're going back to 08, 09. Take 15 years off of all of those people's ages. Some of those people might have still been in high school that were tackling that man to the ground.
Yeah, right.
15 years ago.
You're 32 years old. You're a senior in high school 15 years ago.
Correct. So my point being, he put into his racist video that was comedy, supposedly, I need to go to the Home Depot parking lot to find the illegals. And you know what the whole point of that little gaffe was? To take them right to the detention center so that they could get deported immediately out of the United States. That was the whole point. Jump in the back of my truck, then drive them to a deportation center so they could get deported. Same idea, Trump. The same damn idea as you. Hey, let me try this. I'm Donald Trump. Let me see. I love to watch TV all the time. Where do I find Mexican people or people I don't like of color that I could deport? I don't know. The border. Yep, the border. Yep,
Yeah,
we can
there's
do
quite
the
a few
border.
there.
Where else? Mexican restaurants. Yep, we could shut all them down too and piss off all those people. Yep. What else? Farms. Yep, we could do that too. Where else? Shoot. We might want to hit that Home Depot parking lot. I mean, that's where we've been finding them for years. Do you see how easy the stereotype exists? Do you see what they're doing? They're literally using the stereotype, going to Home Depots, and they are attacking people who are American citizens.
And construction sites.
Yeah. They might be your neighbor, went to high school with you, graduated. Nope, doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, I know somebody I should ask this question to. A gentleman by the name of Ro Khanna. He is a congressman.
You can.
From California.
Yeah.
And that gentleman is going to be joining us on the Occupy Democrats show right after this break. Stay tuned. You said we got what?
Whoa.
5 minutes until, was that?
You know what? I got a
You were trying to give me, oh, nope. Yeah, usually when you wave that, we know what that rule is. So I don't know what happened there. That's weird.
Filler. I have some filler. You know,
what do you got for me?
Trump's cabinet meeting the other day, full of lies, but one that stuck out for me that I think needs to be put down is the idea that his first term was the most successful financial term of any president in history. So, but during Donald Trump's first 3 years, before COVID, his annual GDP growth averaged 2.5%. 2018 was his highest at 2.9. Solid numbers, but not exceptional compared to historical periods. Here's just a few examples. Under Dwight Eisenhower in the 50s, GDP growth averaged his 2.5, but peaked at 7.1% in 1955, a better number than Trump's.
Wait. So Dwight Eisenhower had a better number than Donald Trump's.
In the 50s.
So is he a better president than Donald Trump?
I would say he is.
Okay, next person.
President Lyndon Johnson, 63 to 69. His GDP averaged 4.9%.
Wait, Trump's at where?
2.5.
And that's a 4.9?
Yeah. He's almost double. In 1964 and 65, it exceeded 6%. So we'll move ahead, get to the 90s.
So Lyndon Johnson's a better president.
Way better president.
Than Donald Trump. Okay, keep going.
That includes having Vietnam. President Bill Clinton, GDP growth, 3.9%. 1999 reached 4.8. Even Ronald Reagan, who had a recession in 81 and 82, averaged 3.5% after having 81 and 82 of just being garbage. And I don't want to hear the pandemic excuses because Trump's he caused most of these problems. His disastrous COVID response is what broke his economy towards the end. His national debt rose 33.1% during Trump's first term.
But you said GDP.
Yes.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but I think it's important for everybody to realize that what's involved in GDP a lot is trade. Trade is involved.
There's some trade numbers in here.
Trade is involved a lot in GDP. And Trump said in his first term, He was big on tariffs, and he was.
Yep.
He was on tariffs then, and now he's on tariffs again.
Still
and we
there.
just explained earlier that it crashes the stock market every single time. This man, in his first term, did tariffs, and now Jason is literally showing you every other president in order.
Yeah.
Never did the tariffs like him. Like, I'm not saying that the tariffs didn't exist.
No, yeah,
Never
everyone has.
played with them the way he is, and they have all had twice as good of numbers
Right?
as anything.
Most presidents use tariffs in an acceptable way to protect certain interests in the United States, certain businesses that might be hurt by overseas lowballing prices. That's usually how it's used. But the debt rose 33% in his first term, from $14 trillion to $21 trillion, and he did a tax cut again, which was even worse. So this term is only going to be worse. But again, not everything's COVID related with Trump, because his annual deficit reached $984 billion in 2019.
But Jason, we don't have to explain that. The reason why is me and you went on many a show for all those years, and we said, don't let Trump and COVID be a reason for why Trump is unsuccessful, because for 4 years, 4 full years that man was president. Those are his numbers.
These are. And so
that's it right there. Those are his numbers right there when it was all said and done. And that's after we're talking about every other president too.
So you just discussed his big thing was trade deficits. So that's his reasoning for tariffs. His increased from $481 billion in 2016 to $679 billion by 2020. 36% trade deficits went up in his first term, not down, and that's with his tariffs. Tariffs on China and other countries disrupted supply chains, raised costs without significantly reducing the deficit. Remember, we had to bail all the farmers out of soybeans. And the pandemic cannot be blamed for this, because other countries like South Korea and China, they managed better economic outcomes during the pandemic. For example, China's GDP grew 1.8%, while the United States were contracted by 3%. So China's was literally like almost 5% better during the same period, dealing with the same stuff. Yeah,
with more people to physically control and work with and try to help during COVID.
And the literal hotspot of COVID, they still managed this better. That's why I still think China's going to win the tariff war, because they were ready for this.
And
so
there it is.
He's just average. He's middle of the road when he was president. He managed not to ruin Obama's economic trends up until COVID hit, and then he mismanaged the entire thing, causing death, economic disasters every time he opened his mouth, similar to
Just
today.
Craziness.
Yes,
craziness.
It's total craziness. Those are numbers. Use those for your crazy MAGA uncle and show him it's just not true. There are hard facts that don't change, and his first term was not exceptional.
Well, I know that there's a person, like I said, that definitely is going to agree with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, Congressman Ro Khanna is going to join us on the Occupy Democrats show. over there and on our phone lines, our Zoom lines, as we like to call
zoomed
them,
in.
right? Like it's COVID. We got it like it's COVID. Let's bring our friend in, Congressman Ro Khanna. What's going on, Ro? How are you, sir?
Hello, sir.
Oh,
I'm
There we
excited to do it.
We're good. We're good.
we're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for taking busy time out of your schedule to be with us, because I know you're a busy man. You have a very busy schedule. And, well, Ro, let me ask you the most important question on my mind. How is this first 6 months of Donald J. Trump going for a gentleman like yourself? I'm curious.
I can't believe we've only been 6 months in. I mean, look, I've been in Congress 9 years, and it feels like most of it has been with Donald Trump's presidency. That's how long that this time frame feels. You know, if you ask the president, your job is to destroy the American economy and everything about America. What you would probably do is you would say, well, you know, I want to start by having blanket tariffs on everything. I want to stop all immigrants from coming into the United States. I want to cut all of the funding that goes to science research. I want to make sure that we're starting to cut all of the things that go to our universities. And you know what? Why don't we just screw poor people and working class folks and give all the money to the rich while we're at it? You know, it's mind-boggling he's managed to do all of that in 6 months. It's just been a whirlwind.
6 months. What has been literally, you and me said on this show, 4 years worth of stuff, right? You might get some plane crashes. Then you get like, he tried the Bolsonaro thing, right? Like, that's about it. Like, that would be 1 year. No, that's 1 day.
I could make you feel even worse. It's actually not 6 months yet. We got 11 days to go.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Ro. We don't even make it to 6 months yet,
We're
sir.
not even there
I
yet.
apologize.
He has a whole nother week.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, as a courtesy, you get the White House liaison to visit your offices. And they finally got around to the Democrats, and it was like 3.5 months in, and he had already done most of this stuff. And the guy's just like, well, you know what I tell people? We're only 1/14th into the Trump administration. And he had 4 years to stew and figure out everything he was going to do, and he's just getting started. So, you know, this is scary times.
But, Ro, it was rigged. It was so rigged that we just didn't rig it again. I don't understand what happened. Now we're stuck here
Right?
because we just don't know how to rig things well enough, evidently. But we can joke all day long. Ro, you've been dealing with some very serious issues, in our opinion. Me and Jason get on this show twice a week, every week, to discuss these things. And let me tell you, our head has been spinning. I can only imagine what the guys sitting at the actual desk with Thomas Massey and others, how their head is spinning when they find out that they're going to attack Iran and then not listen to Congress at all about anything and ignore every single man and woman like yourself that was elected to their position to be representative of our country. I literally, sir, do not understand. And you sit on subcommittees that deal with these things directly. You are the one dealing with it more closely than even a Marjorie Taylor Greene or some of the other people are dealing with it, right? You're literally dealing with the subcommittees, dealing with those things. When you find out that they're not even going to submit to Congress for approval, they're just going to go do whatever they want willy-nilly, where do you stand on that? Like, how do you process what just goes through your mind, especially when it feels like they're stealing your value out of you as an elected representative?
Well, it's offensive that they have no regard for the Constitution or Congress. But what's more offensive is that they don't have regard for the people who voted for them. I mean, he promised people that we're not going to keep sending our money to the Middle East, that we're not going to spend billions of more dollars to put more missiles there, billions of more dollars to put more troops there, that we don't want to keep bombing those places and then having people hate us and drawing us into wars. And we don't want more young men going and young women fighting those wars. That's what he promised. And that we were going to put the money in building things here. And then he goes and he gets talked into basically having a regime change. I mean, he's tweeting out that we want to have a regime change war in Iran. It's only because Massey had the guts to stand up to him, and then we did the war powers resolution, and he started getting blasted by Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Bannon, and the MAGA base, that he just said, okay, I'm done after the one day. But, he could get talked in again. Netanyahu wants that regime gone. And, Netanyahu is now saying, okay, I'll give you the Nobel Peace Prize, nominate you for it. Let me just go get into war. When have we ever had another country start a war and then just say, okay, now get in. Now we want you in. I mean, and don't go to Congress? It's outrageous. And it's hurting the American people. It's taking our money that should be going to housing, jobs here, childcare here, and we're blowing it on the Middle East.
Yeah. You just mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize, the nomination. Do you think if he wins, he will be the first politician to keep the prize money? I don't think he'll donate that. Like Obama donated it.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy Carter donated. He had one. Like he's going to keep it. He's going to keep it because it's like $1 million.
He's absolutely going to keep it. He's going to invest it in crypto. He's going to get
probably into that Trump coin.
He's going to buy some meme coin.
Going to throw some meme coin in there. Yeah.
They'll ask for it. He's going to say, I want them to buy my meme coin as the money. But you got to, it's like what person gets elected president twice and he's still like chasing the Nobel Prize or something? It's like that he still wants to be making billions of dollars. Usually it's like, okay, you're a two-term president. You're like, what's my legacy? What am I going to be remembered for in history? And that's none of that. I mean, the guy, it's like a young kid who's just chasing the next prize.
And why is he so worried? Listen, this was in his first term. This was before he became president of his first term. He talked about it multiple times in the 4 years when he wasn't president. And now they're doing it again. What is this need with the Nobel Peace Prize?
It's like because Obama won it.
I get it.
That's why.
Everything comes down to he wore a tan suit. He was a black guy, and I hate him. I get it. I understand it. And Ro,
but that's why he wants
I'm sure, sir, being of foreign descent yourself, okay, and having that background, when you see him running around acting the way he is, because of guys like Barack Obama was a black man that won the Nobel Peace Prize, and I have to do that because I can't have that better than me or whatever it is. It's got to be almost a slight, once again, to even a person like yourself who's like, why does it always have to be about race, color, this, that? Like, why does it always have to be there? Why can't it just be about this person does good, so they deserve something good?
I grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I was born in Philadelphia, grew up there, son of immigrants. And the place I grew up, 99% white, and people were decent and caring, and they said, you go be whatever you can be. And this country elected an Indian American of Hindu faith to represent the richest place ever in the history of humanity, Silicon Valley. 5 companies, over $1 trillion, $14 trillion. That's the story of America, and Trump just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what actually makes us incredible and special. And the sad thing is that just because of his vindictiveness with Obama, he ripped up the Iran nuclear deal. That actually had stopped them from enriching uranium. He's repealed. People don't realize this. This bill repeals 40% of the Affordable Care Act. It's taking away all the subsidies that made the Affordable Care Act possible. It's taking away the Medicaid expansion. It's basically taking a sledgehammer to the Affordable Care Act. Again, because he didn't like Barack Obama. And it's a petty, but millions of people's lives are being destroyed in the process. But that's that's just the vindictiveness of the administration.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. You mentioned Silicon Valley. I have a question. During his last cabinet meeting, Donald Trump had said that the U.S. is leading China in AI technology. One, is that true? And if it is, or if it isn't, what can we do to make sure that we stay ahead of countries like China in this technology?
I do think in many respects we are leading, but the issue has got to be that even though we're leading, we can't give the tech companies everything that they want, which is no regulations. They just say, oh, we're going to lose out to China. We're going to lose out to China. Well, we don't want all the power to accumulate just with these tech companies. We've got to have data bill of rights, that you own your own data. We've got to make sure that they're not just doing this to eliminate jobs. They're not doing this to get people addicted to social media. So I believe that we are staying ahead because of a lot of factors, immigration being one of them, research universities being another one, the ability to have innovative startups being a third, all the things Trump's attacking. But we also need an ethical bill of rights and for people, and he doesn't have that.
Do your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, do they have an explanation for why the 10-year pause on any state actions against AI or any state regulations or laws that was in the bill? I didn't understand why that is. Why?
It's a total handout. There's no explanation. It was a handout to big tech. I mean, I'm the guy who represents Silicon Valley, and I was out there screaming, What are you doing? You mean we can't protect truck drivers in their jobs? You mean we can't protect workers? But now that AI is coming, to have some notification and say before they get fired? Are you kidding me? You're telling me that you can't protect kids from algorithms that are going to get them addicted? And that's what they were doing. They were giving a 10-year moratorium handout to big tech interests. We're going to fund their super PACs and fund their campaigns. And then I started speaking out about it, and to her credit, Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke about it. I was like, I'm finding myself agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene on the moratorium of the war in Iran. But at least she spoke out. The point is, though, they were going to give a total giveaway to big tech.
Now, I brought up Massey earlier, Thomas Massey, and your work with Representative Massey on the War Powers Resolution shows that there's bipartisan effort that is going on in regards to our Congress. But how can Congress foster more of that cross-party collaboration that is seeming to be needed more than ever right this second?
Well, it would be nice to have more people like Massey on the other side who care about their role as members of Congress and don't view themselves as incorporated subsidiaries of Donald Trump, right? I mean, like there's many members of Congress who just think their job is to do the Trump agenda. But if you had more independent folks, I think you can come together on a few key issues. No wars of choice, taxing the wealthy. We need to be taxing extraordinary billionaires in this country. They can pay more in tax, making sure everyone has health care, expanding Medicare for all, making sure we have manufacturing in this country so we don't get totally annihilated by China that's building batteries and EVs. And BYD now is leading over our auto companies and building new industry that we want that industry here in the United States. You could, around that agenda, get bipartisanship. So I call it a new economic patriotism, good jobs, low cost, no war, and have a populist group that starts to work on that agenda.
When I brought up Congress, and I asked that question right there, but on the side, there is another question that just kind of popped into my mind, Ro, and that question is, Elon Musk was there at the beginning to just rifle through with Doge unadulterated so that he could steal a bunch of numbers and stuff for Palantir. We all know that. At least the people that understand what Palantir is, the tech bros, the network state, the oligarchy stuff, we get it. Like we understand all that. Not everybody who deals with normal day-to-day, but you see a guy like that just handed the keys to the castle. Go rifle through, do whatever you want. What was the feelings on Capitol Hill at the time, at the beginnings, right after that first month? Like you're talking February and March, like those first 2 months right after he became president again. What were the conversations like in the hallways between you guys regarding Elon Musk and Doge and the stupidness of all of that?
Well, the conversations were, he's going crazy. He's got no respect for the Constitution. I've known Elon for 15 years. And I said, Elon, I'm going to vote to subpoena you. And I voted to subpoena him. And he called me a dick and he unfollowed me. And it's as if I was, an employee of his as Twitter. It's like, how dare I subpoena Elon Musk? I said, we've got 3 branches of government. Congress is Article 1. This is not like, okay, you come into a company, you fire people and everyone says, yes, sir. And he just didn't get the system. And so I said, look, he's going to get frustrated and fail in 4 months. He's not cut out for the DC. And he got frustrated and failed in 4 months. A lot of things I say don't turn out to be true. This one did. He just didn't understand the process. I mean, you can't just come in. Anyone can't just come in and be like, okay, I'm just going to take a sledgehammer to the United States government and not deal with Congress and not deal with anyone.
In a few weeks, too. Just like in a few weeks, not over like a 1 year period. No. This was just like come in, slash a bunch of stuff in a few weeks.
Yeah, well,
and then walk out.
It was positions and departments that they didn't even know what the people did. And we saw in the case with Texas, there's some people that would have been important to have at that moment, and those jobs were vacant.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is they've fired people in the National Weather Service. They fired people at FEMA. They fired people at the NIH. I mean, it's a decimated. Well, what does this mean? Do you know someone with Alzheimer's? Do you know someone who has Parkinson's? Do you know someone who has cancer? All of that research is being cut. They're cutting research at the NSF that does research on AI. You ask, how are we going to stay ahead of China? How will we continue to have research on it? Cutting quantum computing research, cutting research in synthetic biology. That's about how you make stuff out of biological materials. They're cutting things in alternative energy. It's like, do you want to destroy, again, instead of make America great, it's like, how do you destroy America? And America is so great that we are overcoming this still, like that the economy hasn't collapsed. Things are still moving forward. It's like we have such strength. And by the way, Biden did a lot to build that strength.
That's right.
But what he's doing is just undermining all the progress. I mean, you know what? Let me give you the most egregious example. So not only does he take away the 30% tax credit for solar, not only does he take away the 30% tax credit for wind, not only does he take away the tax credits for electric vehicles, he decides that we need a tax credit in this country, 2.5% tax credit for coal. Let's subsidize coal and let's take away the incentives from solar, wind, and electric vehicles, what the rest of the world is going towards. I mean, it would be comedy if it weren't so deadly.
Ro, do you want to be president of the United States? Like, you can't listen. I'm going to help you out, sir, right now. First off, we'll use Occupy Democrats to give you a nice little platform to work from. But second on that all you got to do is get in there, roll everything back to the way Obama or Biden had it. Doesn't matter which person. Just roll it back to that and then just let it fly for 4 years. You'll be the greatest, most amazing president that has ever existed in the history of American presidents. And you wouldn't have had to do very much at all, sir.
It's like I don't want to pick on the Cleveland Browns or something. It's after like a 1 in 15 season or something. You get to be the coach, but unfortunately, you could have other 1 in 15 seasons, as we've known. So,
do you see that? Do you see that right there? Come on, you're from Philadelphia. I'm a Flyers fan. Do you see that?
He's pointing to a first place team hat, in case you're curious.
There you go, the Blackhawks. Yeah. So look, I'll say this, that I appreciate the thought, but I think we've got to do better, because if we just go back, I think Obama and Biden were great presidents, but if we just go back and we don't understand that people are hurting, that they don't have health care, there are a lot of towns that were hollowed out, jobs left, they can't afford rent, they can't afford child care, then you're going to have, again, this kind of populist anger, and we're going to get the next Trump-like figure. So I think the Democrats, we've got such a Herculean task when we get there in 26 and 28. We first have got to reverse all the damage he's done. We've got to rebuild.
But then you got to fix things, yeah.
And then we got to rebuild them in a way that says, you know what? The working class in this country has gotten shafted for 40 years. They've seen jobs go offshore. They don't have good paying jobs in the same way. Their kids don't have the same good paying jobs. You can't have a country half prosperous in Silicon Valley, $14 trillion, and the other half thinks that their kids aren't going to have a future and that there's no hope. And that we've got to fix that. And we've got to have a government that actually starts working for ordinary people again. And so the next, that's not going to be just a president. That's got to be a citizen movement, a call to service where we get people coming from all walks of life to rebuild this country in a positive direction. But first, we just got to stop the damage. Like every day that goes by, he's destroying something else about this country.
Ro just brought up something interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up, Ro. He talked about the difference between the way the Democrats and other parties move towards governing a country versus the way Trump supporters and MAGA handle it. Like, They cheer for Trump when he does something, but they just let him keep doing things, and then they just stand off to the side clapping like this, going, good job, great job. When Democrats get involved, he's talking about the community aspect. When Democrats get involved, they want to fix the problem. To fix the problem, you need to drag people out into the streets. You got to get people out there, cleaning up the blocks, handling the business, putting the air conditioning units into people who have houses that are too hot during the middle of the summer, or heating units in the middle of the freezing winter. Like, you've got to have hands on the ground, and you get that from the supporters of the liberal movement and the Democrats and people like that. You don't see that a lot on the MAGA side, right? MAGA's bitching and complaining a lot about Texas and the floods down there, but I don't see, remember how they were so fast to get into their trucks and to get their convoys moving, driving all over cities and circling them over and over with all of their MAGA supporters to prove a point? How about we get some of those trucks with some beds down to Texas? How about we go help the people, like literally get out and fix North Carolina's hurricanes? How about those fires out there in LA? Did that ever get fixed? All those houses? We need boots on the ground. People that are going to help, not just some guy with a MAGA hat going, oh, this is great. Do some more stuff, Donald Trump. I really like that. I'm glad you brought that up, Ro. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your pointing out about community. And look, we're all, in my view, a lot of the Democrats inspired by John F. Kennedy. Like, it's not just a line about ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And when we look at the Democrats who capture our hearts like Obama, it's not because he's a really smart guy, which he is, or he has a lot of great policy ideas, which he did. It's because he says, no, we want everyone to build a better country. Because we actually believe that the greatness of this country isn't Elon Musk or some person in Congress or even the president. The greatness of the country is ordinary people. And when they're getting out and contributing and doing things, that's what builds America. And I really think you nail it when you look at the difference, because Trump does all the rallies, but he's not saying, okay, tell me what you think and how are you going to help build this country. He's like, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get my tech billionaires behind me, and we're going to do all these deals, and that's going to build the country. And that's not how you build a country.
Well, no, you're right. Normally, when a president travels across the country and gives speeches, it's usually to tout some new policy or something that they want implemented. He just literally, like you said, has a rally, and then for an hour and a half just riffs on some grievances he has. It's really bizarre.
Now,
well, it's like it's politics is grievance, politics is entertainment, politics is insult, and that's fine. And maybe it's kind of a sad state in the country that people are so cynical, so depressed that they're like, okay, well, he's affirming what I think, but he's not doing anything to change their lives, their kids' lives. It's not actually going to make any difference. And you know what? The AI guys in my district, they're like, well, ha, ha, ha. We're going to make trillions of dollars. Well, our kids will be fine. We're going to keep building a lot of prosperity. And, the country will keep going the way it is. Two different Americas. One, if you happen to be born into places which have tech wealth and are going to be part of the AI revolution. And one where if you're born into places in Pennsylvania where I grew up, like Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and you're screwed because you lost jobs. And okay, maybe Donald Trump will entertain you, and he'll say, "Go hate the libs, and you can own the libs." You want that, or do you want your kids to actually have a chance at the American dream?
There it is. There it is, right there. That's what I'm talking about. You want your kids to have the same shot at the American dream, not own the libs. It's not about owning the libs, not about owning the Republicans. I am going to ask you one last question, Ro, before we get out of here with you. And by the way, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to even
you guys
join
are
us.
Great.
And
we need more of these podcasts.
We need more of you.
Less studies on how to win young men and more podcasts like this. That's what I'm for.
Well, we're here for you, man. Now, my last question is actually going to be more difficult, but I don't think it's an unfair question. I think it's something that you could probably answer pretty quick on the top of your toes. All right? Yes, we all hate Donald Trump for different reasons. Yes, we all slam Donald Trump for a million different reasons. But as Ro Khanna, the congressman right now, sitting in the position that he's in, if there's something Donald Trump should be working on currently, right this second, that you feel would be 100% within his power to pull off, and something great for our country that you feel he could even get behind, what would that thing be? Because it seems like there's nothing that comes out of this man that's positive or a net positive for all of us. We can't seem to find one yet. Oh. Maybe there's something that you could point at and go, yes, if Trump did this, things would probably be better, and I know he could pull that off.
Well, there's one thing he did, and I introduced his executive order as a bill in a bipartisan way. He has an executive order saying Americans shouldn't pay more for our prescription drugs than people in other countries, in Britain and Japan and other parts of the industrialized world. And, he's done this executive order because he knows that Big Pharma is going to challenge it in court like they did last term, and nothing's going to change. But if he's serious about it, what he should do is get behind the bill in Congress to actually pass it so that Big Pharma, the fight is taken to them and that Americans stop paying 3 times as much for our drugs. That's something, he can pass anything he wants out of Congress. I was overseas. I said, there's no way they're going to call us back by July 4th. It's an artificial deadline. Trump says, I want 5 B-2 bombers on the ceremony. I was talking to other members of Congress, Republicans. What was he talking about the bill? He never talked about the details of the bill. He was saying, should we have 2 B-2 bombers or 5 B-2 bombers? He wants it just done in July 4th because of the celebration. So they get the bill done because of Donald Trump. He can get this bill done if he wants it.
If he does. Uh-oh.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
we've said too many things about the tech bros in Silicon Valley, and we got zapped.
We got zapped by,
that's disappointing. I wanted to say goodbye to him. Thanks a lot, Elon. I'm blaming Elon. I'm pulling a Trump. I'm just going to blame.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear him. I can't see him, but I can hear
you. We cannot see you right now.
All right. Well,
but that's okay. Go ahead and finish up your point because we can definitely hear you.
Well, look, the basic point is that he can get this through Congress. He can get anything he wants right now through a Republican Congress. How about doing one thing that's actually good for people, for working class and middle class people? There's one thing that people hate in this country, the amount of money they pay for their drugs, prescription drugs. And we're getting ripped off compared to every other country. So there you go. That's one thing Donald Trump could do.
We'll see if he will.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Ro, we want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us on the Occupy Democrat show. We look for more amazing things from you, obviously. This is why we were excited to talk to you in the first place. And hopefully we get a chance to talk to you again on the show soon. Maybe come back next month or in a couple of months and give us a little update on what's going on.
See where we're at. And then it will be 6 months.
I love it. I'd like to be back and I enjoyed the show.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That is Ro Khanna, congressman from California. Thank you so much, Ro.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well,
I enjoyed talking to him.
I had a great time talking to that man too.
That's a smart guy.
But I feel like it's good to talk to people who are just level-headed.
Yeah.
That have a head on their shoulders, right? They're not just talking heads that are just randomly going to jump on and just have a bunch of things to say that are just random. Even at the end, when we're asking them, hey, is there something Trump can do that is positive, that is something a net positive for this country? Ro Khanna just gave you an explanation. He just gave you an example of something that he was behind, that Trump did, that he thinks follow through on this. Trump would be a pretty good guy.
If Donald
See
Trump...
how simple that is? Liberals even get it.
If he woke up tomorrow and just acted normal for the rest of his term, he could be one of the most popular presidents ever.
It's possible, but at this point, even this 6 months in, I think he's done too much damage for this term alone.
But his inability to just be normal, his narcissism is so out of control that's impossible. He cannot do that.
I don't know where this country is going to end up, ladies and gentlemen. And as long as there are gentlemen like Ro Khanna that are doing the God's work, as I like to call it.
Right. At least he's on your side, America. Even MAGA people. He's
as long
on your
as I
side.
got people like that in this world, I know, Jason, I'm doing okay. And I know that there are going to be people out there that you can always walk up to, have a talk with real quick, kind of get an even understanding of how life is for yourself. And then, keep yourself moving in the right direction. Because let's be honest, every day of the week is more baloney on the wall from Trump, right?
Right.
I mean, just today alone, and we didn't have this piece to talk about it. It kind of happened late in the afternoon. I didn't get a chance. ICE went and ran into a Puerto Rican museum up in Chicago. And,
right.
Puerto Ricans are Americans. Puerto Rico's a commonwealth of America.
Where do you think they got that info from? Like, they were like, Do you think we're sitting around spitballing and be like, hey, I bet there's a lot of bet there's a lot there.
Like I said, the cliche and stereotype
That's what it
about
is.
Home Depot
Yeah.
is where you got to go to find illegals. The idea that anyone who looks Mexican or Latino
They're gonna be
has to be a foreigner who's illegally here.
And
And that's a problem.
nothing he said was out of control, crazy, would be considered a crazy liberal idea. It was about holding people accountable, cheaper prescription drugs, making sure the AI doesn't get out of control, making sure these tech companies aren't just able to run amok. Those are normal ideas that everyone should get behind, but Donald Trump has made it to where normal ideas cannot exist. They run out of oxygen too fast, and they're just dumped on by conspiracy and nonsense.
All right. Before we get out of here on this show, Jason.
Yes.
And I know we got to get out of here soon. If you want a 9-to-5 that pays hourly, here's the top job to apply for. Now, you might just want to start buying Cheetos in bulk. That's all I'm going to say.
Sweet.
A new poll of shift workers found the happiest hourly job you can have is working at a weed or vape store.
Done.
That's right. If you're working at a weed store, then you're not
you
happy.
mean just
You're
going
obviously just shopping there, obviously, right?
Oh,
Right,
okay.
yeah. 92% of weed and vape store employees feel good or amazing about their jobs. The national average across all hourly jobs was 78%. That seems kind of high, honestly.
Yeah, 78% of people.
But then again,
are
I
happy.
feel like a lot of people don't understand how many more hourly jobs that exist out there
Oh yeah.
than salaried style positions or jobs like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Here are the 5 hourly jobs with the highest job satisfaction. You ready?
All right.
Weed and vape stores at 92%. That's number 1. Who do you think comes in at number 2 on the list of hourly jobs and places?
Maybe
Because this one caught me off guard.
smaller grocery stores, co-op style ones, like a Trader Joe's type place.
Catering companies.
Okay.
Catering, 91% are happy at their catering jobs. That's right.
I would think that would be annoying because if you get like a Bridezilla type situation.
Sure. But see, that's probably few and far between.
Yeah, there's
We
probably
know
more
somebody who does weddings. We'll ask him when we get off the air.
Yeah.
Cafes and coffee shops, 90% satisfaction rate. Yep. Dentist offices, another 90%er right there. So if you work at the dentist office, you're doing
pretty
doing
cool.
good. You're pretty happy. And Planet Fitness, gyms like that.
All right.
89% of the people there who are hourly employers are happy. Our employees at community centers, sit-down restaurants, and gun shops also ranked high up in job satisfaction. At the other end of the list, though, Jason, hourly workers at pharmacies are the most likely to feel stressed or frustrated at their job, which I find really weird. Because every pharmacist I've ever met or person who works at a pharmacy says they're a pharmacist, and every pharmacist I've ever met says the same thing. I make a lot of money. I get paid really well. I'm a pharmacist, and I need to let you know exactly what my hourly or my salary or my whatever is.
It's probably those techs that aren't so happy.
I don't know. The rest of the bottom 5 are postal workers, Amazon drivers, people at veterinary clinics, hourly workers at doctor's offices, and other hourly jobs in healthcare.
I thought like big box
Healthcare.
stores would be.
Think about it, though.
miserable.
Healthcare, where you get paid the best,
Yeah.
right, would be where you're the unhappiest. But I don't think that in healthcare it's unhappiness because of them on their end. I think it's more the fact that you're dealing with people that come in sick and hurt.
Yeah,
and in
that's
pain,
probably-
And you got to deal with the stress of that more than anything.
Yeah, watching people at their worst moment sometimes.
Postal workers, though, you remember when
Going
going
postal
postal
was a
was
thing,
a thing,
right?
saying
That was a
going
big
postal? Ladies and gentlemen, you don't remember this. Late 90s, saying the words going postal meant you were a postal worker that was at a stressful job and you might shoot up
Showed
the
up
place.
to work, and
because some guy did that.
now it's so
that
common.
happened at multiple postal places
Yeah,
back
it was like
then.
2 to 3 in one
2
year.
or 3 in 1 year, like had people show up and just shoot a bunch of people at the post office.
Yeah, so much so that Dennis Leary had a bid on one of his specials where he said, if I worked at the postal office as a manager, I would fire anyone ever.
Yeah. All right. Well, we had a great interview with Ro Khanna.
We did. That was fabulous.
And it's been another fantastic day here on the Occupy Democrat Show. Make sure you guys check us out at all of our particulars
other
down
than that.
there. And don't forget to follow Occupy Democrats on all of their social media channels. Everywhere you can find them at Occupy Democrats. We've got more interviews coming up, hopefully. We talked about
Yes.
David Hogg, Jasmine Crockett. We're talking to a few different
We're
people that we're trying to get out there.
efforting
So
people.
we got some people out there. Jason, anything else you want to say?
No.
All right. We will see you guys next time on the show.